Welcome to the fastest stuff in town. Today on Masechtas Ketubot Daf Chav Zayin, we are going to begin on Chav Zayin with Aleph, the second line from the top. So just as a review, the Mishnah, which we saw in the previous Amud, said regarding a woman who was in captivity by an Ovik Chavim. Now, typically, we have that concern that she was defiled. However, it depends, as the Mishnah said, if the reason why she was captured was Alidei Mammon, because they were trying to extort money, so then they're not going to defile her, and therefore she is going to be permitted to be with her husband. However, if it's Alidei Nefashos, in that situation, she's considered to be as hefker to them, and therefore because of that, she will be usher to her husband if she somehow escapes. And then we end up saying that there was a chiluk when we're dealing with a situation where the Yisrael, the Jewish people, have some level of control, and that's when the Mishnah applies. However, in the event where the Ovik Chavim are the ones that are in control of the situation, of the government, and Israel has really no power, so then even when it comes to Alidei Mammon, unfortunately, this woman's going to be usher to her husband. So we say like this: Ikadami, Omer Rava, Afanan Namitinina. We also learned something similar to this. Hey, Rabbi Yosi HaKayin, Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav, Albas Israel, so we mentioned before, regarding this girl, Shehorhana Ba'ashkelon. Again, she was held as collateral on Ashkelon. V'richakua b'nei mishpachta, and as we said before, people distanced themselves from her. However, there were witnesses to the effect that she was never secluded with these men or became defiled. If, in fact, you're believed that she was held in some level of captivity, so aminu shel nister shel nitma, then they should be believed that she wasn't defiled. If they don't have nemanos to say that she wasn't defiled, then al taminu shehorhana, then we shouldn't believe them at all. Now, when it came to the place of Ashkelon, the reason why this person was held in captivity is because of money. Now, our Mishnah said before that if a woman is held because of money, then she's going to be mutter to her husband. The taima the edim idaisa. The only reason why is if there's witnesses. Mashmaha ein edim idaisa loy my lav loishna horhana loishna nechbasha. So, which is a question because our Mishnah said that if she is an isha shenechbasha, so then alidei mammon she's allowed to go back to her husband. Lo horhana shani. That when it comes to alidei mammon, and we're talking about she was nechbasha, so then we say she is going to be mutter her husband. But over here, if there wasn't for the fact that there was edim, then she would be usher to her husband. Ikaderami mirma. Some actually ask that as a contradiction. Tanan alidei mammon mutar sobal, which is our Mishnah says. Or minhu hed Rabbi Yosi v'chulu v'ashkan alidei mammon v'katan tam de edim edemoisa ha ein edim edemoisa lo. So we're asking basically a question. The way it's framed is directly in the Mishnah. Mishani Amar Shmuel Barav Yitzchak Ul Kasha Kan Shiad Yisrael Tekif Al Avdi Kachavim Kan Shiad Al Kachavim Tekif Al Atzman. As we said, in the event where the Yisraelim have Tekifa, they have control, so then Alidei Mammon she's going to be mutter. However, in the event where the Kachavim are control, even Alidei Mammon they're going to be aser. Alidei nefashos asur v'chul. So Omar Rav kigayin neshei ganave, referring to literally the women of Ganavim, says Rashi, shabalehen nitlin v'derech hamalchos l'hafker beisam n'shehem. So what's happening is that the Beis Din, the courts, they say their land is ownerless and also their wives. So these women, it's considered to be like alidei nefashos, that they can be taken and physically harmed. Those women, therefore, there's a great likelihood they were defiled, and therefore they're going to be usher to their husbands. Now, this individual, Rashi says, was Ritzeacha. He was a murderer. And actually, Elazar Shemo. Maybe it's only when it comes to such a man in which he is wanted for murder. That's when the wives are going to be certainly hefker, but maybe not by dini mamnas. Who shenigmar dinul hariga. It has to be that there was always a gemar din. There was a verdict that he was to be killed. Next Mishnah. So ir shekavshuha karkoin. So let's say you have a city in which an army has taken captivity over the city. So kol kohanos shenimsa b'saycha psulos. Unfortunately, we are concerned that all these women are considered to be psula because there's a great likelihood that these soldiers defiled them. However, imish and edim, if there's witnesses that they were not defiled, it doesn't matter who they are. Afil eved, afil shivcha, har el nemanim, they're believed. However, neman adam alayatzmo. She's not believed on her own, on about herself, because she's a karve tzalatzmai. Says Rashi, that she was psul. They're psulas asulas l'balehim the ashes kain asul of oinus. Even if we're talking about a situation where it's against her wills, but oinus, nonetheless, she's still going to be usher to her husband, the ashes kain. So let's continue with the Gemara. The Gemara asks a question. Baleshes shibol ir. Let's say you have an army that comes to a city. So it depends. B'shal shalom. If let's say there's no fighting, they just happen to be marching through, but during peaceful times. Suchavius psuchos asuros dumos mutaros. Any barrel in which is open is asur because we'll assume that they may have drank some. However, if they're closed, then it's mutter because it's pretty obvious that they did not contaminate them. There's no issue of yain nesach. B'shas milchama il mutaros lafi she'in panai l'nasich. If it's a time of a war, even the barrels that are open, you don't have to worry about. They're going to be mutter because there's no time for them to be busy drinking wine. So we're asking the question, at wartime, these women really should be mutter because the soldiers are busy fighting. They're not busy worrying about drinking the wine. They should also not be busy thinking about taking these women. So why do we say that, all these kohanos are asur? So Gemara says, how can you compare the drinking of wine, contaminating wine, and defiling a woman? It all depends. You have time for things. The question is, what are your priorities? To defile wine, to have a sip of the wine, they're too busy fighting for that. However, to have znus with a woman, to defile her, that they'll make time for. If Yitzchak bar Elazar mishmei dechizya omer, the second answer, kan bekarkum shel oisa malchus, kan bekarkum shel malchus acheres. It's all totally if it is an army of this malchus. In that situation, she would be mutter, because they're not going to want to harm her, because after all, she's a citizen, and we want her and all her family to be able to pay taxes and to be loyal. However, the karkum shel malchus acheres, we're going to say that she's going to be usher. Says Rashi, karkum shel oisa malchus, enim roitza lahashches es b'nei ir. They don't want to destroy the city. Ukishaboy koivesh ir asamuch mamalachto shoymra v'hi lomas oived. So, we want them to be able to pay taxes. We want them to be able to give us money. So we don't want to cause them harm. And therefore, they'll be mutter. So Gemara now understands this. It says, Shel oisa malchus nami, even if it's the same malchus in which, obviously, the king and the powerful people want people not to be harmed, but is it possible to say that not one of them ran toward a woman? In other words, it's still possible. How can we say that she's mutter? There's still the possibility that she was defiled. So Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, he says it's talking about a case. It's when you have guards that are observing everything, and they saw that this was not an issue, that no one was touched. Now, is it not possible that one of the guards fell asleep, or they didn't do such a great job in the security, and therefore someone came and defiled a woman? So Rabbi Levi could go into Mahadir Lamasa Sheshilta v'kalba ugavaza v'avaza, that this city had iron chains, dogs, sticks, and geese. So no soldier would have been able to break away to take a woman away. So therefore, because of that, if all these things are in the situation, then you don't have to worry. Rabbi Abba bar Zavda pligi bar Rabbi Huda Nesti bar Rabbanu Samachlokas Chad Omer Kan Bekarkam Shalei Samalchas Kan Bekarkam Shal Malchas Acheres. So you're saying that really the two cases, one is Malchus of our country, one is an army from another, V'lo Kasha. And we say it's not a question, V'lo Kasha Le V'lo Midi, and it's not a question. So because as Rashi, Lo Yichayish L'Meker Inish Yechida V'liboil Hov Ein Hadavar Hefker. So this is not something where there's an element of Hefker, again, as we said, if it's your Malchus, the army of your country. The Chad Kash Le Kol Hani, one had all these questions. Mashani can go to Mahadule, Lomasa, Shoshulta, V'kalba, Gvaza, V'avza. She says, no, we're talking about in a place, as we said, where there's all these security precautions to make sure that no man defiled this woman. Omer Rav Idi bar Avin Omer Rav Yitzchak bar Ashen. Im yesham mi machavoa achas. If there happens to even be one hiding spot, matzelas al hakohanas kulon, that will be enough to be able to save all the kohanim, all these women. So if there's one place that a woman was able to hide, some safe room, even though maybe it wouldn't have been able to fit everyone, but we could therefore rely that possibly this woman was in that situation. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Einu machzekes el achas mahu. But what if the safe room was only enough to be able to physically hold one woman? Mi amrina, do we say kol chad v'chadu, chad v'chad hainu ha, that each woman, oh, that must have been the woman, even though there's 100 here. You know, it's not true, but each one, there's the possibility that she was the one. O Dilma loyamrinim. We can't say that because it's not possible. They all couldn't physically fit there. So Maishna Mishnei Shavilin. So l'chayro, we should say, as the Gemara in Pesachim discusses, it should be the same thing as these two different paths. So what's the din by two paths? Achas tamei v'achas tahar. V'halach b'echem mehen v'yasa taharais. U'bachaver v'halach b'sheni v'yasa taharais. So you have two paths. One is tamei, one's tahar. One person went this direction, one person the other direction. So one of them went on Makam Tameh. The question is, what happens because both of them are holding Taharos? So we have the din is like this. Rabbi Yehuda Omer im nishol zebech ni'atzmo zebech ni'atzmo Taharos. If each one asks the Shaila individually, we'll be able to tell them that they are fine. However, shneim ka'achas tameyos. If let's say they both came at the exact same time, we have no choice because we can't say that they're both tahar if they both ask the question at the same moment. If you say no, ben kach levein kach tamein. Even if they come at different times, we're still going to say it's tamei. If they came at the same time, divrei kol tamein. Everyone agrees to that. It was bezerach said divrei kol tahar. Now, if they came at separate times, everyone holds it's tahar. Well, nechaku, the whole machlokas is el babal we shoy Allah v'al chaveroi. They ask at separate times, but they ask for themselves, and they say, oh, by the way, I'm asking for a friend. So therefore, mar medamile b'basachas. That's comparable to being asked, two people asking at the same time, because you're being forced to answer the din of you and your friend. Mar medamile because the Metzias is they're both not here at the same time. V'hachinami. We should maybe derive from that din of these two paths, all of them should be tamei, because again, all of them are presenting themselves in this situation. So that should be the din. So where it says hachi hashta hasam vadi ketuma. When it comes to the two paths, we know 100% one of them is tamei. And therefore, it could be potentially problematic. We don't know that any of them became tamei. We're just saying, in addition to that, if one of them somehow managed to get into a particular room, a safe room, so maybe we could also be samech that the other women may have done the same thing. But you can't derive one from the other. Question 1. So he said, if you have this space, then all of them are safe. So we asked the question, what if it's in machzekas el achas mehen? So he said, Mehechen rotzim gemara lifshait iboya umad dochu. So this we just saw that maybe we could learn the same din out by shnei shvilim, by these two paths. So that's considered kabas achasi, and the halacha is like Rav Yossi. The answer is no. It's not necessarily to say that necessarily they were tummy. Okay. Bar Rav Ashi, Amra, if she says lo nechbesi, I never went into this hiding spot. However, lo nitmesi. Now, she has a migu because she could have said nothing, and we would have assumed that maybe she was the one who went in the hiding spot. But what if she actually shared this information and said, I did not go to the hiding spot. However, I am also not tameh. So mahu mi amrin, and as we continue to chaf zayin and beis, do we say that Malu is shaker? Again, she has a migu, and this migu allows her, therefore, to be acceptable, because she could have said, yeah, nichbesi, I was in the hiding spot. Or maybe we don't say a migu in this case. So so maybe we should derive it from the following story. Dahu Gav is a person, that he rented out his donkey to his friend. It's a famous Gemara. It says, you can borrow my donkey, but I don't want you to go to this location called Nahar Pakoid. This river, there's water, and it's very dangerous for my donkey. If you go there, it's certainly going to get killed. So Zil Ba'orcha Denerish. I want you to go there instead, Delekamaya. So that was the stipulation. The Ozil Ihu Ba'orcha Denar Pakoid. Now this guy didn't listen to what he was told to do, and instead he went Nahar Pakoid. However, Umeis Chamra, and the donkey died, but it didn't die because it was in its location. It just would have died anywhere anyway. So also made the Rabbi in Beorcha Benahar Pakoid Azli. It's true, I did go in this direction. Umihu Loy Havimaya. There was actually no water there. So therefore, the reason why I died is not because of what you thought. And therefore, Omer Rabba Malu Shakir. The truth is, this guy should be believed that he didn't do anything wrong because he has a migu. Iboy Ormali Borcha the Nerashasli. He could have said he went the other way that he was supposed to go. The Ormali Abaya, no. Malu Shakir B'makam Edim Lo Amrinan. We don't say amigu b'makam edim. There's always water over there, so it's like edus against you. So you have no migu. So too when it comes to a woman, she shouldn't have a migu either. So therefore, maybe we should apply the same din. Gemara says hachi hashta. You can't compare these two cases. Hasam v'di ika edim di ika maya. Over there, we know for sure there's water there. The name Nahar could kind of give it away. The river, right? Hacha vadi itme chshashahu makom shasha amrinan. So over here, it's not for sure that she became tameh. It's a chshash. It's a concern. So the fact that she has a migu, we're going to not be concerned of this chshash. So therefore, in this situation, we actually are going to say that she is going to be fine. You can even rely on even people who typically are not acceptable witnesses. That even includes her own maidservant, who obviously is very, very close to her. Nonetheless, apparently that's good enough. That one is not allowed to seclude themselves with them. So as Rashi says, this is Gemara in Masechtas Gittin. That he shchimira, so you have this person who is dying, shikasev u'maser gel ishtai, and he wrote a get to his wife, but he wrote it almanas on condition she'imei sihe get l'mafreya, that if I die, then it will be a get before my death, because en get lachamisa. V'lo tizakik l'chalitza. This way you're not going to have to do chalitza or anything. Lo tisyachin imoi. So once that man does this, says Rashi, you're not allowed to be sequestered or be alone with that man. Shema yavalel, because what if he has bia with her, and then v'havila get yashan? It's considered to be an old get. If a person writes a get, doesn't give it to her yet, and has bia, that get is called a get yashan. Tanan Beisil Oisrin liftor beget yashan. Beisil says it's usher to pater her with this get. So ve'ezu get yashan kol shnis yachad ima bi'achar shekas svula. After it's written, you can't be secluded with her. But time a gezerah shema yamru gita koydem livna, because of the concern that a person may say that the get came before the child, and therefore because of this whole problem, one is not allowed to write the get and then afterwards have yichud. So on this, the Gemara, now we can understand the Gemara a little bit better. It says you're not allowed to be alone with your husband once he wrote this get. Al pi edim, unless there are witnesses. V'fil al pi eved v'al pi shivcha. Even if there's these people that are there, that will be sufficient. Even though you're alone with him, but you're not totally alone because you're with these people that are watching you. However, it says chutz mishivchasa. This is going to be the question, that you cannot be together with your maidservant. Mimnei shaliba gas b'shivchasa. And therefore, it's possible that she would even have tashmish in front of her shivcha. So the fact that her shivcha is there really doesn't help because of her close relationship. And therefore, the question is, how come in our Gemara we're saying that she's going to be, that we're going to believe that she in fact is okay based on the testimony of a shivcha, where it's almost like she's equivalent to her herself. So Omra Papi B'Shvuya Hekelu. The reason why we're lenient when it comes to a shvuya is because otherwise should be an aguna. So we want to be lenient under the circumstance. So when it comes to a shvuya, we'll even allow her own shivcha to testify she wasn't defiled. However, when it comes to these other situations, like being miyachid with the man, that your shivcha cannot do. That will not help. Truth is, there's no difference. Even by shvuya, we're not going to allow her shivcha. The difference if it's her shivcha or his shivcha. So according to the second answer, is it true that her shivcha is not reliable? We see it says that a person cannot testify about themselves. Now, what's the obvious diak? Now, l'chayra, it's mashma that your own shivcha does work, just not on yourself. So Gemara says something beautiful. Shivchasa nami ka'atzmadami. Your shivcha is just like you yourself. It's like almost an extension of who you are. Rav Ashi Amar, third answer. Havaha b'shivcha dida. Both of these cases, again, is talking about her shivcha. B'shivcha michsa chazia v'shaska. In one case, she'll witness things and she may be silent. Hasam, when it comes to the get, deshtikasa matirasa lo mihimna. When it comes to the get, by her being shasik, that's going to make her mutter through the get. That she's not going to be believed. Hacha deshtikusa osarte mihimna. But over here, her shtika, she will be believed. So she needs to actually say testimony, since she wouldn't outright lie based in, so she, the shivcha, is believed. So again, even in our case, she's believed because the shivcha actually has to actively say she was not defiled. Now, for her to say such a thing, she's not going to lie in based in, and the fact that she says it, therefore she's believed. However, for a shivcha who sees certain things and just remains silent about it, that maybe she'll do. And therefore, we don't rely on the shivcha to be with her and her husband. So Hashanami Asim Mishak, or maybe she'll lie when it comes to our case. Tartilu Abda. She's not going to do two. As we explained, Rashi says, Chad Mishtak. One is to be silent, Bikil Kula. The oid detesi utashaker. To actually go out of her way and lie, that much she wouldn't do. Kihad de Mari bar Isak, v'yarmul Chana bar Isak, asale acha amabechol yizah, armuli poiligli benixne de Abba. Come and divide up the estate of Abba. Armuli loyadanalach. I don't know who you are. What are you talking about? Oskamid Rabchis, armuli shaper karmelach. It's very good what he said. After all, Yakar Yosef es Echav. We know when Yosef was sold to Mitzrayim, many years later his brothers came. Now Yosef recognized them. Vehem lo hikiruhu, but they couldn't recognize him. Didn't recognize them. So he didn't recognize Yosef, so he doesn't recognize you either. So go and you have to prove that he's actually your brother. So what do you mean go and divide up my father's estate? I don't even know who you are. You're claiming to marry my brother? So I do have witnesses. However, but they're afraid to testify the Gabra Alomahu because you're such a powerful person, and therefore they are scared of you. Or Malay Ladide Zil Asinu at Delav Achuchu. She said, now you actually have to go and prove that you are not his brother. So he actually turned it around. It's very strange. It makes sense that they should have to prove, but why? You're the one that's holding the money. So why do you have to prove that he's not your brother? Well, that other guy should prove that we're your brothers to take from you. After all, based on the concept of Hamotzi Mechavarai. So Malay, Hachi the Inanolach Ukulha Alami Chavarch. And this is why going against you and all the strong people like you, Hashanami also Mishakri. They're also, maybe they'll still come and lie. So Tartilo Abdi. So again, the question is, why would getting people to testify that he isn't his brother and lie, that much a person actually wouldn't do? So even though he's a very powerful and strong person, but even someone who's very powerful and strong may not have the ability to be able to get someone to be able to testify falsely. They may stick up for him, but to do that much he's not going to do. So let's say this whole notion, if her shivcha is able to be believed on her behalf, is a machlokas tanai. So zu edus ish v'isha tinik v'tinaikis avia v'ima v'achev v'achaisa. This is the testimony, says Rashi, shel shvuya hakol ksher. Everyone is kosher when it comes to a woman who's held in captivity. We're lenient and we allow all different men, women, children, avia v'ima, parents, v'achaisa, siblings, of a loy, but then it says these are the ones that are not believed. Lo b'na uvita, not your son or daughter. Lo avda b'shivchasa. It says beferish, not your servant or your maidservant. But tani idach. But yet elsewhere it says akol ne'manim l'heyed. Everyone could testify chutz me he mena, except for her herself, ubal and her husband. The Rav Papi, the Rav Ashi tanahi. The Rav Papi mi lema tanai. He so Malach Rav Papa mi tanya hi ki tanya hi bimsicha lafituma. Maybe the shivcha is only believed when she's mesiach lafituma. She just happened to be talking about it, and therefore it wasn't to give edus. She was just talking casually, and at that point we're going to believe her. Kihad dechiyasu Rav Dimi Omer Rav Chanan Kartigna. Mishtoi Maisa Bolefne Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Yermal Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mishtoi Maisa Bolefne Rabbi Ba'adam Echad Shahai Masech Hafitum. This guy was just talking. Yermani V'imi Nishbeisi Labein Umos Labein Oevet Kachavim. I and my mother were in captivity. Yotzasi Lishoi Mayim. Whenever she went to draw water, Daiti Elaimi. I was thinking of my mom. Malakinate when she was chopping wood, Daiti Elaimi. Nesil Rav Kahut Larav. And we believe based on this testimony. In other words, the fact that he was just Messiah Chafitum, so yeah, wherever my mom was, I was always right by her side the entire time. The fact that he said that is enough proof that we're going to say she's fine. Okay, we'll stop here. Let's see a couple questions. Question 2. Fil Evan, Fil Shivcha Nemanim. Maishna Mahadi Amrin Begitin, the Lotus Yachanimo, El Be'edim, Chutz Mishpachasa Mimnei Shali Begaspa. So how come in one place we believe her maidservant, one says we don't believe? We don't. So one has to do with, as we said, because of shvuya. And because we're talking about shvuya, we're lenient. Alternatively, a second answer, we don't believe her ever. And the difference is, if it's her shivcha, we don't believe. If it's his shivcha, then that's a whole nother matter. And finally, the third answer is, it depends on how much the shivcha has to do. If the shivcha actually has to go out and lie, that much we're not going to be concerned they will do. And therefore, because of that, we're going to believe her to be able to testify that she was, in fact, not defiled. TA 11. Ha'isha shenichbisha alidei nafashais, a woman who was captured through life and death, hi mutaris labala. So it says, l'chad man de'omer im lo nigmor din mutaris v'im nigmor dina surah l'idach man de'omer afal pi shel nigmor dina surah. Okay, I'm not sure. I think that may be a mistake over here. I'm not sure. Okay. Question TB 12. Im yesham machvua matzelas. Maishna mishnei shvilin shemetamen vasachas. So he said the difference is quite obvious, because in that situation, there's definitely one of the paths is tameh, but over here, who says that she became tameh? Or it says here, dehasam vade toma hacha safek adkan.